These are the Vedas, and according to Hinduism, these scriptures came before humans and everything else. Each religion has a founder, and his writings and preachings are given a place of pride in that religion. For Christianity, it's the Bible, for Islam, it's the Quran, and for Hinduism, it's the Vedas. In this video, we will understand some interesting things about the Vedas, like how these scriptures are of non-human origin and were not authored by men. Where did the Vedas even originate from? Are the Vedas still being taught to children in India? And where are the Vedas kept and preserved? But before we move on to these questions, let me give you a brief introduction to the Vedas. The term Veda literally means knowledge. Vedas are understood to contain knowledge about everything and anything pertaining to nature, our existence, and the cosmos as a whole. The Vedas are divided into 4 different parts: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. The Rig Veda is said to be the oldest of all the Vedas and also the oldest scripture in history. It contains more than 10,000 mantras or stanzas praising all the Devatas. Devatas or deities can be understood as different forms or manifestations of the Supreme Being, that is the Paramatma. Next is the Yajur Veda. The word Yaj means to worship. The chief purpose of Yajur Veda is to give the mantras or stanzas from Rig Veda a practical shape in the form of worshipping. This Veda helps in understanding the actual procedure of worshipping using the mantras in Rig Veda. Then comes the Sama Veda. Sama means peace to the mind. The mantras or stanzas are the same as in Rig Veda, but instead of chanting the mantra, Sama has set the mantras to music with lengthened notes. Music is used as it is said to be greatly conducive to the spiritual evolution of the self and the grace of the gods. An interesting fact is that the 7 notes fundamental to the Indian classical music are sourced from the Sama Veda. The 4th Veda is the Atharva Veda. It contains many types of mantras designed to ward off evil and hardships and to destroy enemies. Talking of enemies, it is statistically proven that if you subscribe to the channel right now, it decreases the chances of you making an enemy. Now let's take a look at some of the interesting things about the Vedas. By definition, Vedas are apurusha, which means of non-human origin and hence could not have been written by men. But if we look at the Vedas, each mantra or stanza is attributed to a specific rishi or saint, and the Vedas as a whole are credited to Vedas. However, Vedas only compiled all the mantras from different rishis into the Vedas between 1500 and 1200 BCE. These mantras were not created or composed by the rishis, instead they were only found or discovered by them. To understand this better, ask yourself about the relationship between Columbus and America. Did he create America, or he just discovered it and introduced it to the world? The same goes for Newton and gravity. Did Newton create gravity, or did he just understand the laws already in operation and made them known to the world for the first time? Likewise, the rishis or saints became aware of the mantras already in existence and made them known to the world. Well, if the rishis did not create the mantras, then who did? And how did these rishis or saints even find them? To answer these questions, we need to move on to the next point: without a beginning. In each field of study, after reaching a certain point, an individual can intuitively understand and discover new concepts. Just like Newton reached a point in his knowledge of physics and was able to intuitively understand the concept of gravity by just watching an apple fall. Similarly, rishis or saints who reached the peaks of knowledge in a deep meditative state had intuitive realization of these mantras. In other words, there was a flash of understanding and inner perception of the mantras. These mantras existed and still exist in the form of vibrations in our surroundings. To understand how these mantras started existing in our surroundings even in the first place, we need to move on to the next point: cause of creation. As mentioned before, there are several devatas or deities in Hinduism that can be understood as different manifestations of the Paramatma or the Supreme Being. Different deities have different roles in the universe. Lord Krishna is the deity of love and compassion. Lord Shiva is the deity of destruction, and Lord Vishnu is responsible for preserving or sustaining life. Similarly, Lord Brahma is the deity of creation. He is said to be the creator of life and the creator of our universe. In the very first line of Bhagavad Puran, which is a sacred literature in Hinduism, it is mentioned that the Paramatma or the Supreme Being gave knowledge of the Vedas to Brahma through his heart. Therefore, the Vedas always existed within Brahma, almost as his breath. Bhagavad Puran, which describes how Brahma created the universe, mentions that he himself is said to have undertaken creation of the universe with the aid of the Vedic mantras. Well, now that we understand where the Vedas come from, how the rishis or saints discovered them, and also how and when Ved Vyas compiled these mantras, let's fill in the blank and understand how this knowledge of Vedas was transferred from generation to generation before Ved Vyas compiled the mantras in a written form called the Vedas. The method used to share this knowledge was called learning by listening and was used in a Guru-Shishya setting. Guru means a teacher and a Shishya translates to a student. Guru-Shishya as a whole means succession from a Guru to a disciple. The natural question is, why did these gurus not write down the mantras so they could be learned and understood by their disciples? One reason is that some sounds cannot be accurately reproduced when they are in a written form, and there are many such sounds in the Vedas. These sounds can only be transmitted orally. In addition, these mantras have to be recited in a certain specified cadence and rhythm to produce the necessary vibrations. Some sounds have to be in a higher pitch, some in medium, and others in a low pitch. And because these mantras are so powerful, a slight mistake in pronunciation of words or the cadence, rhythm, or pitch can even have a negative and contradictory effect. The Vedas were written down and compiled by Ved Vyas thousands of years later in an effort to preserve the knowledge and make it available to everyone. The Vedas isn't a small bundle of books or a few mantras. They are a collection of over 20,000 mantras and a few thousand pages. How is it even possible that the gurus could teach each mantra word for word to their disciples and also for the students to learn each word of these mantras without any change in the tuning and making a mistake? Let's take a look at this mantra and the different ways of recitation that were used to memorize such mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah. In the Kram part recitation method, the order of words is 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. The mantra would be recited as Om Namo Namo Bhagavate Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vasudevaya Namaha. The Kram part method is one of the first few levels. There are about 10 other methods of recitation that are used to improve the understanding and memorization of these mantras. Let's take a look at some more methods. In the Jata part method, the order of words is 1 2 2 1 1 2, 2 3 3 2 2 3, and so on. The mantra would be recited as Om Namo Namo Om Om Namo. Namo Bhagavate Bhagavate Namo Namo Bhagavate. Understand, we have only covered the first two words, Om and Namo, till now. The same process will be used to cover the last three words. The above system of complicated recitations was devised in very early times in order to preserve the purity of the word, sound, intonation, pronunciation, accent, and sound combinations of the Vedas. By repeating the words in manifold ways, the correct tally of words also was kept, which has naturally ensured its purity. Another important thing to understand is that the 4 Vedas that currently exist are said to be only a fraction of the total knowledge or the mantras that are available in our universe as sound and vibrations. In India, the Vedas are carefully preserved and continue to be studied and revered. Vedic schools known as Gurukuls or Vedshalas exist in various parts of India. These institutions focus on the study and recitation of the Vedas with an emphasis on oral tradition and memorization. Prominent centers for Vedic studies and practices can be found in cities such as Varanasi, Haridwar, Rishikesh, and Prayagraj in North India. South India also has a rich tradition of Vedic study and preservation, with centers in places like Chennai, Mysore, and Sringeri. The oldest known copies of the Atharva Veda and the Rig Veda are preserved in the Bhandarkar Oriental Institute in Pune, India. It is also said that the oldest tablets of the Vedic scriptures are preserved by the British, French, and Germans in their respective museums. I was unable to find any answers as to if and where the original copies of the Vedas may be kept.